Ego. Everything comes down to getting the ego aside. I don't have to have my name on everything. What I do have to have is a good brand.
Hello and welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, as well as my new book, The Plastic Surgery Practice Playbook, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, today's special guest is Dr. Samuel Salcedo. He's a board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeon who is founder of the Plastics Doc and Med Spa. It's located in Southern California in an area called Corona, California. He's been practicing for 8 years, but in private practice for 4 years. Now, Dr. Salcedo received his medical degree and completed his residency at Loma Linda University of School of Medicine in California, and his research is published in peer-reviewed medical journals, and he presents at both local and national medical conferences. Dr. Salcedo, welcome to Beauty and the Biz. It's so nice to have you, and I'm sorry you're on vacation in Hawaii. I hated to interrupt that, but good to see you.
Totally fine. We're talking about business, that's business, right? Vacation, business, it all happens at the same time.
For sure. I'm just going to say for those, because we have an international and national group, if you don't know, he lives in the most beautiful part of the United States. Corona is absolutely gorgeous. Loma Linda University is breathtaking. So you've really surrounded yourself with aesthetic beauty forever. Yeah.
Yeah, we have. People have a lot of complaints about California, housing prices, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's hard to beat. Being in the central part of Southern California, you can do anything. You can ski and you can surf in the same day, which I have done. And if you have kids, there's just so much to do. So it's a hard place to be.
God, I can't imagine. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous down there. So anyway, let's talk about you going from you are a resident and then now you have to go out into the marketplace. I know it's usually a jagged road. So can you just describe what was your journey to private practice?
Yeah, so that's a great point. It's very scary to go out into private practice, and I'm one of those people that I just didn't have the guts to do it. Initially, going into private practice, I didn't feel ready to open up my own practice, just hang my own shingles. So for me, I found refuge in joining up with a partner. So I went straight into a practice with an established partner. He had been around for about 15 years. And it was a good way for me to learn business, have patients brought to me, and build my books for boards. So that's kind of where I started. That was my first step into private practice. So I went straight in.
Was he a plastic surgeon as well?
He was. Yeah, he was a board certified plastic surgeon.
Was he more mature and the thought was you would take it over?
Yeah, that was the thought. And that's where things always get interesting, especially with partners. I'd love to touch on that a little bit at some point. It's such a big challenge to make partnerships work. And
Yep.
so few people are able to achieve that. So, and not in a bad way. I'd love to go over my story. It's not that things ended badly. It's just the way that you join a practice with high aspirations, right? I'm going to get super booked. I'm going to build this huge practice and maybe I'll take over, right? Once things are established. And it's so hard to make that work.
No, I watch it all the time. And the biggest problem, I will say, after doing this for decades, the values have to be the same and the vision has to be the same. And you have to talk about that when you're still in the honeymoon stage and not when things are starting to get edgy,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if it's a partnership, the minute you have money invested, now you up your ante. Now you're expecting a lot more. And he's thinking, no, we're going to do it my way. And you're thinking, no, I have money in this. We're going to do it both of our ways. And then it has to become this working relationship. And it is so fraught with issues that I just say, please communicate early on. And then you can't change your mind and say, oh, on the other hand, I really want to do it this way. Because it starts causing trouble, and just make sure you're set up paperwork wise and legal wise. How do we divorce if we have to?
Exactly. And I get it from both perspectives now because I started as a partner. Now I've built my own practice since 2022, and I see what goes into building your own practice, and I understand why it's such a challenge to give over part of what you've built when you see the struggle that goes into it. And I understand that mentality of like, okay, so you're going to come in now at the end of the race and take us to the finish line. Like it doesn't seem fair, but I had a talk with a colleague of mine who's also a board certified plastic surgeon, and he essentially said, you've got to give up that ego. Like you just have to. You have to let that go and be willing to make that sacrifice if you want to either scale to the next level or make your exit.
People won't pay you for the risk you took
Yep.
and for the hell you went through. They just don't see it like you do, and that's the problem. There are two different perspectives there, and gosh, ego always is the main culprit, but it's also communication and values. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. And ours came down to the fact that I think my partner was very fair and we had a great relationship, but I wanted to become more of a partner and help more in the expansion. And then when expansion happened without me, it kind of felt like, okay, like you said, I don't know that our values are 100% aligned. I may not be able to get what I'm going for. So I've got to do it on my own.
Was it in the same area?
Yeah, well, I mean, just basically what happened is he opened up a satellite office essentially where I lived, which is what I wanted to do with him. So I want to say, hey, let's go 50-50 partners on this next satellite office. It'll be fantastic. It's near where I live. Obviously, in retrospect, you always look back and go, well, thank goodness that didn't work out, right? Because now here I am now. But that was kind of the deciding factor for me to say, okay, I guess I'm not as much a part of the growth and the future of this practice as I thought I was going to be. And that's when you've got to either relegate yourself to always being a partner or decide that you're going to go your own way.
So did he open that other office?
He did. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. So I found out he was opening up that other office. I wasn't going to be a part of it in the way that I wanted to be as a 50-50 partner. And that's when I decided, okay, I need to build my own practice.
But did you have a non-compete?
No. So the nice thing about California is that there's no such thing, right? You can't actually enforce a non-compete in California, which I think it's ridiculous. I'm sure you talk about this a lot, and a lot of my colleagues talk about it too. I'm starting to believe it more and more that there is enough business for everybody. There's enough patients. If you do good work, you take good care of your patients, you don't have to worry about the guy that's down the street that he's taking patients away from you. You're going to build your own niche. You're going to have your own patients that you can service. And I just think non-competes, I don't like the idea of it. I don't think it's great when people use non-competes and enforce non-competes. I just think that might be an ego thing too, right? Like you don't think that you are good enough to maintain your business and build more business with somebody down the street.
On the other hand, the mature surgeon who's handing their practice over to somebody else or sharing that practice, they often just say, "Would you sign an agreement, a non-compete agreement?" They're trying to vet it, as in, are you thinking about staying for a year or two and disappearing, or are you really thinking about staying? It's just one other thought about where's your head at when you join my practice. It's a big deal to join and then unjoin, a practice.
It
So,
is. And we're going to get into this. I'm in the process of bringing on an associate now.
oh.
And again, I get that perspective. But on the other side of the coin, do you want to force somebody to stay with you that doesn't want to be there? That's like a premarital agreement. Or that's like, if you were married and somebody, they did something outside of their relationship or they just weren't happy in their marriage anymore. Do you really want to keep that person in that relationship? Just like they say, business is like, it's like a marriage, right? You're coming into the same commitment. You're melding two skills, two personalities, two finances. It's exactly the same. And I personally don't want to keep someone around that doesn't want to be there. So I think for a non-compete, yeah, I mean, why? Let them go. If they don't want to be there, let them go. And I'm changing my perspective on that now, bringing on an associate. Initially, I had this exact same thought process. Well, I don't want him here if he doesn't want to be here because he wants to maintain two practices. And initially, I was very turned off by that. And I thought, well, why come here if you don't want to be here? No, I've sort of, again, ego. Let your ego get to the side and just go, if you can both make money together, if you can profit, even if it's temporary, okay, well, maybe you just bring in the next associate. And yeah, there's some investment in that and it is a hassle, but at the same time, you're learning each time and you bring on someone new and you just hope it works out and you hope your values align. But if not, let them go. Don't fight with them. It's It's not worth your time. It's not worth your investment. It's like holding a grudge, right? It hurts you more than it hurts the other person.
Oh, for sure. However, you now it would have been nice to practice near your house. I always say the older I get, the more the commute became way more interesting, like zero commute. And so many surgeons on like the last part of their life, they just say, I'm moving closer to home. This is crazy being in that traffic for an hour every, twice a day.
Well, get the irony of this. I did end up moving, so it didn't matter anyways. Again, life is short, right? When
Yeah.
life is short, all these little things that we stress about,
Yeah.
usually a few months later, they don't even matter. More so years, they don't matter, right? Why get so hung up on those details?
Yeah. Do you always talk like this or just because you're on vacation?
No,
Because you're pretty mellow.
I'm a pretty mellow person. And like you said, just like older surgeons transition into I don't want to commute anymore, right? Things aren't as important anymore. I'm trying to I'm trying to learn from my peers. I'm trying to learn from people that are more seasoned and internalize those goals, those lessons, those mistakes that they've made and learn from them early so that I don't make them as well. And one of those is life is short, right? Life is short, so be mellow. Don't stress about those little things. They won't mean anything in 5 years. That lawsuit that you went into with your former partner that took up 6 months of your life, stress, all this money, 5 years from now, it doesn't matter. Let it go. Give it up.
Yeah, some of the people on the podcast have been in that litigation for years, and the sleep they've lost over it. And I think, oh, you're just creating an ulcer over nothing. It just get out of all of that. It's so negative. So good for you for learning that early on, because there are more hiccups coming up. It's just how do you handle them? And I really do believe it all works out for the better.
100%.
That's really helped me get through all the crap that happens in life.
Yeah, I agree. It's difficult to talk about what having a central value, spiritual or not, or whatever it is, but a guiding principle. I think you become a lot more mellow if you have sort of that North Star to understand, okay, what is life all about? What is my true goal here? Is it to I don't think it's building the biggest business, right? There's more to it than that. And when you sort of put that into perspective, then business becomes the tool on how you make the bigger things in life happen, like relationships, like providing for your family, providing a job for your employees, and impacting your patients' lives. That's kind of where I'm at. And maybe it is Hawaii. Maybe you're right.
So describe your current practice. You said you moved. Did you move to lessen your commute?
I did. I moved to lessen my commute, and I actually moved into the area that I want to open up a second office. So I'm in a weird I'm in a weird point in my practice. So I'm 4 years in. We're hitting this point where there's a lot of decisions to be made. Our patient volume has grown to the point where I'm booked out. There's volume to bring on a second person. We've had our surgery center struggles. So the thoughts are coming through. Okay, I need to build a surgery center now. Okay. But also, I moved to a new area. I want to open up a second location and be as close as possible as I can to there. So now I'm thinking Corona, this other area, where do I build the surgery center? And I'm almost like Corona. I'd love to get a few associates and sort of hand over the keys to the castle. I know one of the things that you like to talk about is, how do you expand? How do you grow? And how do you approach your business? But one is one of the biggest mistakes that you made, right? One of the biggest mistakes I made is not looking at what we do as business. Okay, obviously we need to take great care of our patients and get great results, but where a lot of us surgeons fail is not understanding that we run a business, right? And how do you grow a business? How do you expand? How do you scale? Those are all the important questions. And I'm right at that transition point where that's what I'm trying to figure out is how do I scale? Giving over the keys to the castle to a few associates sounds like, if you let the ego get in the way, it sounds like I put in all this work and now I'm giving it away. Yeah, sure. But if I can get a few associates to leverage their time, make money for them and make money for me, I feel like that's how you scale.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're done with the surgery center and you want to build your own. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, we're moving to that point where like we need to start considering building our own surgery center to service our patients, and if we bring on associates, to not have to, if anybody who's dealt with surgery centers know, it's hard to get time. You're constantly being shuffled to other surgery centers. There's not enough money in cash pay cases. So the surgery centers get tired of that real quickly unless you're bringing insurance.
For sure. Just a tip though, California regulations and permits are really, really challenging. And
Yes.
one of the surgeons said, have some connections. You
Yeah.
need some connections to get that through. Just
You
saying.
do. You do. Yeah, it's a hassle. I mean, that goes into a whole nother issue of like, is the juice worth the squeeze? And
Right.
that's, business in California more and more is becoming like that. But by the time you factor in workers' comp,
Yep.
disability, unemployment, like at some point you're like, how much money am I taking home? Right? It's not what you make, it's what you keep. Like those thoughts start going into your head. But I think that's where having associates becomes really profitable and benefits your practice, because then you have other people doing the work and you're still profiting off of that, and you're not just trading your time for money, you're trading some of their time as well. So that's where I think it starts becoming a little bit more profitable, and you start noticing that, okay, owning my own business is starting to become worth it, because as a solo practitioner, you max out at some point. You've only got so much time to do surgery.
Or you have to raise your prices
Right.
just so much that you say, okay, I'm the top dog now and I'm going to charge twice as much as everyone else. But then you have to back that up with customer service, five
Yep.
star, five-star customer service, white glove service. I mean, you have to really back it up, you know?
100%. And that's another part of building your business that is so hard to achieve. I think that's where coaching and podcasts like this really come into play to go, how do we do that? How do we raise our prices and provide that service? I'm still figuring that out.
Hello, it's Catherine with a quick announcement. My new book, Beauty and the Biz, the Plastic Surgery Practice Growth Playbook, is at the printer. Now, it's based on 175 interviews with top plastic surgeons across the country, what they're doing differently to convert more, retain more, and profit more. You can pre-order a copy of the book at beautyandthebizbook.com. Now, back to the show. Listen to some of those podcasts from the big boys, Rod Rorick, Rito Chopra's near you, Ben Talay. They've all been on. Dr. Chitty. Dr. Chitty's different though. I'm thinking about the facial guys like Mark Manny. They talked about it. It's not a secret why they're top docs if you hear what they do every day, and they're not going home for dinner. They're focused. Yeah. Chopra might be though. Anyway, so how important is non-surgical in your practice? Are you focused just on surgery, or do you have a theory of I want a patient through all stages?
Yes. So I think it's great to do non-surgical and to have that side of your business built out. And there's some consultants that talk about that, is that, 30% of your revenue should be from non-invasives, med spa, and things like that. I agree with that. I'm just getting back to basics right now, where I'm trying to focus on the surgical and getting that best patient experience. Because I think if you try to expand into that, that's a whole nother animal. That's a whole nother business that you have to learn. It's almost a whole nother staff that you have to house within your clinic to make that successful. And right now, like I said, I'm in an interesting point in my practice, because right now I said, let's get back to basics. Let's get back to the most excellent surgical results, surgical care, and 5-star experience on the surgical side, and then we'll expand more into that. I've had it before, but having nurse injectors, that's a topic that is a huge pain in the butt. Anyone who has nurse injectors knows it's very challenging to get good injectors. Not technically good, but good, ethical, and also willing to build your business.
I will just tell you, one killer nurse injector who, again, shares your vision, shares your values, has already tried to do it on her own, and she has no desire to do that again. She wants to be under someone's umbrella where they have to deal with all of the crap. One good one can make you $1 million, and no lasers, no all that. Just let her do her facial balancing and all of that. One good one can really make a change without a full-on med spa, and the profit margins start faltering, and the management it takes to do that. Yeah, you have to just decide how much you want to manage people, quite frankly.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with you 100%, but that's like a unicorn. You just described a unicorn, right? That's few and far between. And believe me, I've been looking. I haven't found one yet. I'm still trying, but it's extremely difficult.
Yeah. They're not going to pop up. You're going to find them through networking, or you're going to keep hearing their name and maybe you talk to them offline, because they're probably not looking. But it is a unicorn. But if you can find that, I mean, I know several practices who do just fine with one nurse injector, and that's their med spa,
Well, I will tell you this. If I find one, I will find them, I will keep them, and I'll pay them what they want to get paid because that's gold. I agree.
Yeah. So who's on board right now? How big is your staff?
So I have two full-time front desk. I have one PCC. I have a PA that helps me in surgery and also a little bit in clinic. Like she would be my ideal injector, but she has her own practice, right? That's the thing. You find these unicorns, and like you said, your most important point is they have to be someone who's failed at doing it at their own. Because if they haven't done that yet, I will put $1,000 on anyone who tries to get a nurse injector, a PA, an NP that hasn't failed yet. If they have not failed yet, they will leave you and go try to do it on their own.
Yep. Well, there have been so many med spas that have gone under because they realize the business and marketing side of this is nothing they know anything about. Maybe if you can catch somebody on their way out, you know.
Hey, if anybody's watching the podcast, hit me up, please. Corona, California.
All right, that's all advertising we're going to do today. So tell me this, like, what's been the biggest challenge of running your own practice and having to be responsible for all of it?
Everybody will say the same thing. It's human resources, it's personnel, it's managing people, it's trying to get people who don't have an investment in your practice invested in your vision. And I mean, that's incredibly difficult. And it takes a special person to get in their head and go, you know what? I know this isn't my business, but I want to treat it like it is. I want to grow it like it is. Another unicorn, right? And I've got great staff now. I have hired and fired a lot of people and again gotten back to a core of a few people that work well and that I can trust and do a great job. And that's the hardest part about it. The other hard part about it, I want to go back to what you said earlier. You said those people who are, have these top businesses, they're not going home for dinner. I mean, we've got to talk about that. Is that really the life that we all want to live? And I don't think it is. I don't think that's the life I want to live. And at what point do you make that sacrifice? Do you want to be at home? Do you want to be at home having dinner with your family, or do you want to be building the greatest practice? And I don't know that those two are 100% compatible.
Well, it's very generational. And what's weird is the newer generation wants work-life balance, but the newer generation has more competition than ever in the history of this industry. Because I've been around a long time, it was so easy 20 years ago, and they were still working all the time. And now you want to work less, but it's not easy. It's so competitive. So you just have to decide, if you're okay with losing revenue to your competitors and just getting enough. Enough is enough.
Absolutely. I talk about this a lot. I talk about, and I don't want to sound defeatist when I say it, but I talk to a lot of colleagues. I talk to a lot of people when they ask me about plastic surgery. Oh my gosh, you must be doing this and that and doing so well. And in a way, like you said, it's generational. When I was going through residency, I looked at my mentors. They had Ferraris, they had four homes, they did all that, and as I went through residency, I got out and it wasn't like that for me initially. It's actually still not. I'm not even going to front, right? It's not quite there yet. But and I had to ask myself, what is different now? Like, why, what the landscape for anyone who's watching this, who's early in their practice or just getting out, I don't want to discourage you because you can still make a great living. You can build a great practice. But you're right, it is different, right? There wasn't social media. People didn't travel as much. They just went with Dr. X is the best breast guy. You got to go to him. It's not like that anymore. There's social media. There's TikTok. You can travel wherever on Southwest for like $100, So you're right. It's a completely different landscape. It is harder than ever, but it's so cliche, but you got to find that niche to kind of differentiate yourself. Otherwise, yeah, you get lost in the mix.
Actually, we're going to talk about that next, but let me ask you this. Give me the biggest mistake you've made that others can learn from.
Okay, so I think the biggest mistake is going back to what I talked about before. I think the biggest mistake I made was not treating my business like a business.
Yeah.
We don't get trained on it. We come out and we want to do our best work and provide for our patients. But ultimately, you're not going to succeed until you start treating your business like a business, which means you do have to be business minded. You do have to think about the numbers. And I don't do this as much. I've kind of made a compromise on this, but you do have to be ruthless. The best business people I know are ruthless. I don't choose to be that way. So I may not build the biggest practice. I may not have the most zeros after my, revenue sheets, but I'm making a choice to that. Like you said, I'm making a choice to be home at the end of the day with my family. I'm choosing to be in Hawaii right now and lose probably 150 grand in revenue. Because people, when they look at vacation, you
Yeah.
got to look at the consults you didn't see, the surgeries that you didn't do, not just the cost of it. So, but I'm making that choice and I don't regret it. Like you said, I'm a mellow person. I'm happy. I don't regret it. But it's a huge mistake to not at least think about what do I need to do to achieve my goal, right? If I want to get to X, what do I have to do to get there? And either you readjust and say, I don't need to get there, I can make some compromises, or you do the things that you have to do to get there. And it's a big mistake to think that you can't work hard, follow the numbers, and be a little bit ruthless to be successful.
I'll tell you what the game is becoming more of is how can you be more efficient? How can you make more in less time and less hassle? If you ask a better question, you'll get a better answer. The answer isn't always let's scale. Let's add more confusion to this. Let's add
Mm,
more variables and more staff and more locations. Sometimes, and surgeons have said to me, sometimes I wish I could just go back to my wife and my daughter working in the practice and call it a day because this is exhausting trying to manage
yep.
everybody. And Ed Williams, I used to do a lot of work with him, and he said, you know what? If you don't like business and legal and marketing and accounting, don't do this, or get a killer CEO who does want to do that. Somebody's got to watch the numbers.
Yep.
Too many surgeons abdicate, and that's when they get the funny money problems. And you have to like some of that, Are we profitable? Do you know how many people are busy but not profitable? Because surgeons are so
Yeah.
busy being busy, and someone half the money's walking out the door on the other half.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I would just get way more efficient about everything we do here. Is it worth it? Do we really need to add another laser? Do we really need to add another procedure or treatment? Just because everyone's trending about it. I would really start looking at how can we do this for less? Just my 2 cents.
No, you're 100% correct. And that's where consultants come in,
Yeah.
right? Because you know the answers to that and other people may. My second biggest mistake that I've now corrected is get professionals to do the professional work. Like you said, you do have to have your pulse on what's going on financially, but don't, when you're first starting, I get it. You don't have the money to have a full-time social media, full-time this, full-time that. But as soon as you can afford it, get a full-time social media person who's a professional on it. That will help you tremendously. Get a full-time office manager, get a full-time practice manager, get like a good accountant, all these things. Hire a consultant to look at your business and go, like exactly like you said, no, you don't need another laser. No, you don't need a second location. What you need to do is get back to white glove 5-star service, right? And it's hard for us to step back and see that. And that's where professionals come into play. So that's my best recommendation on not making those sort of mistakes and figuring out how to run a business is bring in professionals. Let them do what they do best. You do what you do best.
It's also just getting really, really good at the fundamentals. One that you didn't mention was, um, are our phones handled? You know,
Yeah.
can somebody call our office and get that killer? Are they representing me like I want them
Yep.
to? So
Yep.
get the phones right. And then for God's sakes, you spend a fortune on leads, make sure your coordinator is professionally trained. I spend a lot of time on that. And it's so funny. You guys will not invest training in a coordinator. And it's like worth it, like the fees are like a facelift or a tummy tuck. And the money that somebody can bring in when they know what they're doing and they have a good conversion structure is crazy. Like that's how you become more efficient. Get really good at the fundamentals is the point. Yeah.
That is one of the best investments I've made. Again, we're not plugging companies, but I've used two different seminars and consulting companies, and that was worth every single penny. There's three things that have completely transformed my practice. One is, like you said, getting my coordinator well trained. Now I need to invest in my front desk. Okay, I haven't done that yet, but that's my next step, right? But doing my coordinator, that has paid double, triple what I invested. Number two was getting myself trained. So I went
Mm.
to do high def lipo course in Colombia and all that. That transformed my practice. The third was another training. Again, it's hard to do this without mentioning companies, but in minimally invasive techniques for breast augmentation, body augmentation, that has also paid tremendous dividends.
That's how you start looking at it. If I invest in this, is this going to make me money?
Yep.
Then it's a good investment. It actually becomes very simple when you start looking at business as business and not as ego. The other
Yep.
guy did it, so I did it. That's not how you do it. What do you want to do? What do you want to be known for? And invest in the fundamentals. Yes, please.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
so
Totally.
yeah,
Totally.
so let's talk about marketing because you're in a super competitive arena over there. Um, how helpful is it to speak Spanish?
Oh, so helpful. Yeah, that has been
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. Uh, if you're in Southern California, you don't speak Spanish, that is a huge disadvantage. Yeah, I
Good.
mean, we put out videos in Spanish, we market in Spanish, and it's like anything else. If you went to another country, let's say you got injured in another country, right?
Mhm.
Nobody speaks the language. You're in the ER, you've got a broken leg, or you don't know what's going on, and
Mhm.
nobody can communicate well with you. How comfortable do you feel? Not at all, right? But as soon as somebody speaks English and comes in and talks to you, you're like, I want that person. I want them only. That's the only person I'm dealing with. It's kind of like that. So if you can imagine.
So regarding your customer trends, then some speak Spanish, some don't. Does that? How do you balance that? Because then if I walk in somewhere and everyone's speaking Spanish, then I would feel isolated. So how do you work that out?
Well, I mean, look at me. I don't look Hispanic. I don't talk like a Hispanic, but I am, right? So that's kind of my staff is the same way. They don't come off like that, right? They come off very neutral. We're all very Switzerland, right? So we speak English well, speak Spanish well. And not that there's anything wrong with looking a certain way, but it's just how we are. It's just, yeah, how we come off.
Yeah. When you mentioned Mexico and lipo, and there like certain demographics appreciate certain procedures. For
They do.
example, the Hispanic market in general loves BBLs and 360 lipo. Like they take this like round figure and turn it into this, hourglass figure that's amazing. Like I see it online and I think, oh my God, that is amazing.
Yep.
Is that the kind of thing you're doing, or is that your specialization, or where are you trying to niche in this market?
So I'll tell you what my niche is, but to answer your question, yes. When it was Colombia
Mhm.
and I learned all the high def techniques. And yes, that what that allowed me to do, especially with being able to speak Spanish, being Hispanic, was appeal to that market that wants that, but doesn't want to go to Mexico, doesn't want to take the risk, or maybe doesn't want that super transformation where, they've got this waist like this and hips like that. Not everybody wants that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was able to kind of corner a market where I can do more of the, let's say, the Americanized style of body contouring, where you've got the petite BBL, the athletic BBL, the Pilates body, where it still looks beautiful, it's enhanced, but it's not overdone, right? So I did that. But where I'm finding my niche is plastic surgery is in a renaissance right now. We have so much new technology, regenerative, natural, minimally invasive. That's where I'm finding my niche. So I was able to get in early on a few technologies. One of them was minimally invasive cellulite treatment. Never been a good treatment for that before. There is
Mhm.
a device that came out that is fantastic, doesn't require large capital overhead. You just buy it device by device. It works amazing and patients are super happy. So they get treated with that. Then they do other treatments like lipo, mommy makeover, breast augmentation. So that is how I initially differentiated myself because nobody was doing it. People didn't believe in it. They didn't know if it was going to work. So I was one of the few people offering it. I was pulling people from other countries, which I
Mhm.
never could have done on my own as a plastic surgeon in Southern California. Like I never would have gotten those eyes. So that helped me build. Then the next big trend was, donated fat. That
Mhm.
is super hot. People are very excited about it. I was one of the first to be a part of that as well. And it works. So it's great. Now the new thing is minimally invasive breast augmentation. That is currently transforming my practice. And being on the forefront of things that work has been huge for my practice. Obviously, I'm not jumping on things that I don't think work, but if it works well and it addresses a problem that hasn't been addressed before, that's a fantastic way to carve out a niche because a lot of people want to sit on the sidelines and wait. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally safe. But if you see that it works and you're able to jump on it, take advantage of that opportunity.
Can I just ask, what's a minimally invasive breast aug?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. So what that is we can now do breast augmentation without general anesthesia. So patients can be wide awake. We use tumescent in the breast tissue, and without cutting breast tissue, we use an inflatable balloon to open up the space and then place the implant into that space. I absolutely love it. It works fantastic. Patients are extremely happy. And the goal of this technique, or one of the goals of this technique, is that it's bringing a new patient base off the sideline who either doesn't have time for downtime or was afraid of the general anesthesia. So as long as they're good candidates for it, it's been amazing.
I would say that's trending big time. This whole subject on anesthesia.
Yep.
Everyone used to do general, and then the public knows all about IV now. They know the word local, and they want the least amount. Although, and they also know the word awake. I think awake is still scary, but
Yeah.
like local and IV, I think that's trending. And do it in office. It's no. It sounds like it's just no big deal. It takes away the big hassle factor of this and the fear of surgery. If you can,
Yep.
just if you can simplify.
A
Good.
hundred, 100%. I call it minimally invasive breast augmentation. So I call it MEBA, right? It's
Uh,
very not amoeba because that doesn't sound quite as good. But yeah, you think about it, right? It's very user friendly to say
yeah.
minimally invasive breast. Everybody wants to hear it is a little cliche buzz term, but it's true and it resonates with patients.
Yeah, no, it resonated with me. That's why I asked about it.
Yeah.
I want that. Yeah.
They do.
So,
Everybody loves it. They want it. They hear that and they go, okay, that sounds like something I want.
so how are you finding your patients? Patient attraction is always a big deal. Leads, where are you getting them?
Okay, do everything is my best advice. Do everything. We're getting them from everywhere. So Google Ads you have to do. It's not as effective as it used to be, but Google Ads is still kind of the base of the pyramid. I actually still do magazine marketing. So there I'm on the cover of a magazine in Southern California that's marketed to high income homes, kind of one of those that features homes and renovations and stuff like that. So I advertise in that. That actually, although it's very old school, has been super high ROI. And I was surprised. I did it for the first time a few years ago, and I'm like, whatever, I'll throw some money at this, see what happens. And it's been fantastic. I have a billboard right now, which also has been surprisingly
Nice.
effective ROI. I didn't think it was going to be, and that's probably my most expensive marketing, but it
Yeah.
actually does work. In Southern California, where there's traffic and high volume, it actually makes sense.
Well, and they're sitting in traffic. Yeah. Do you have a QR code on there so they could scan?
I don't, but I'm the plastics doc, so it's kind of easy to remember. So, they're at least able to Google that and find me. I did radio for a while. I didn't find that to be high value. I didn't get a good ROI on it.
Right. I think we're too visual. I don't think we're radio. I never understood that. Yeah.
Who listens to it anymore either? I mean, it is what it is. So, Google Ads, print, billboard. I go on podcasts like this. I mean, anytime you have the opportunity to reach a new audience on Instagram, Facebook, you should do it, right?
Yeah.
It's free advertising, it's free marketing. So I do that. My main lead channel is Facebook and Instagram, though. Just putting up this you can't buy. Putting up high quality, engaging content is your number one ROI.
You have a lot of videos. Good for you. And you also have 126,000 Instagram followers. So I don't know how you did that so fast, but the video is so helpful.
Well, it didn't happen that fast. I mean, unless 4 years or 8 years is fast,
It's fast.
but it is a slow burn. And for a while, we weren't doing it right. And we got shadow banned and we literally grew nothing for probably 2 years till we finally started figuring out a new recipe, which is you've got to create viral videos. That's the only way that we found to grow as a plastic surgery Instagram page. You also have to not put before and afters. This is a big secret. Think about this. I used to look at my colleagues' pages and go, why don't they showcase their results? You know, the ones that had big followings and viral videos. And I'm like, are they not good surgeons? Why don't they put before and afters? I get it now because you get banned by Instagram. So you have to have educational content. You have to have silly content, viral content to grow your audience. But with that being said, now that we've switched our focus, our leads are growing as well. Our following is growing, and so are our leads. So, like I said, it has been extremely high ROI. And what I did was I hired a professional.
Good. Tell me what went viral. What was the topic?
Oh man, yeah, go back to my Instagram. You'll see in the past probably 6 months, we've had multiple videos go over 1 million. And our low average on like videos that are okay is about 40K to 60K. Our medium videos that are like pretty good engagement are 1 to 300K, and then viral is going to be 1 million plus. And we've hit many like that. Our number one most viral video right now was me washing my hands.
Yeah.
Seriously, at the scrub sink. And my social media guy said, hey, I think this will be cool. Let's do it. Initially, I told him, who cares about this? Right? Again, getting out of your head as a surgeon and letting a professional do the job. I said, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care. What does it hurt me? So I washed my hands, did my scrub. This is how you do it, blah, blah, blah. He posted it, 24 million views, picked up by a bunch of different social channels. And that's when it really hit me that like, let professionals do their job, get out of their way, get out of your ego, and just let people do what they do well. And since then, he finds things that are trending to people and we post them. We did a video about breast augmentation, but it had a thumbnail of Kylie Jenner, millions of views. He just knows how to tweak stuff. And I'm sorry, guys, as plastic surgeons, we're really not going to know how to do that well. You kind of have to hire a professional that can put in the time, do the right hashtags, do the research, and suggest videos that you might think are mundane or silly. But another viral video we did was how I gown up before surgery, putting on my gloves, and it went viral, and this I never would have thought would have been an interesting video.
That's why, again, you have to leave your ego at the door and listen to the social media person because you're the front man and they just need you to and then don't look at the videos until they're up and posted because you'll stop them every time. You'll say, no, I need to redo that. No, it's not good. You have to stay out of that process. Even though you're the fan, the star of the show, you've got to let somebody else make you look good.
It's also freedom. I've never not looked at my Instagram so much. I literally don't. I still respond to comments because one key is if you want to get viral videos, you have to engage. The algorithm has to see that people are commenting, that you're commenting back. So don't ghost and post. That's the worst thing you could do. But yeah, I don't watch them. I don't watch the videos. I don't review them. I trust him to do the right thing. And it's freeing. It bought back my time. And now I'm trying to do that in every aspect of my practice. Like I said, let my practice manager run the practice. Let my office manager do this. Let my PCC become well-trained and let her do what she's going to do.
Another thing you've done very well is use your patients to increase your social proof. It's always, always, always better for the patient to say you're the best than you tell everybody how great you are. So any tips or tricks on how to get patients to do a video with you, show their photos, send in their photos? Any tips?
Yep. I do. I have a lot of tips on that because unlike some other practices, I'm still trying to figure, well, actually, I do know how to do it. I'll tell you how they do it. But I have really shied away from using influencers. I don't like to give discounts. I don't like to pay people to post. But if you want to get people to send you photos afterwards when they're home and they're healed, you'll get maybe 10% of your just organic patients. The rest you're going to have to pay. Let's just be honest with it. Okay. So I don't like to do that. I haven't done that, which there's nothing wrong with it, but it is the way the game works. So I haven't been successful in having my patients very often send me that beach photo or that bikini photo. But here's the tip. If you want them to do that, you give them an influencer discount and they'll do it. Okay. The way that I do it organically is I do it with my patients in office, in house. That's why you see so many of my videos are in the exam room or
Yep.
somewhere in my office because a happy patient has no problem giving you that social proof. They have no problem with you using their photos and videos as long as it's convenient for them. And that has been able to give me 90% organic social proof. But if you want those beach photos, and unless anybody else has a different perspective, but what I found is once people are out, they're happy, they don't tend to send you their photos unless you're paying them or providing some incentive for it.
Hmm. Well, I know we're not supposed to do that, like the medical society, but they don't live in the real world. But what I would do, a couple things, I would make sure to give them their photos, their before and after photos, in a card that says "Thank you so much for your trust," and it has your contact information. And there's always that P.S. It'd be great if you could share us with your friends and family online and in person. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, just to
Yeah.
drop that. I just think if you think about patients, they're not thinking about how to grow your practice, but they are talking about you a lot, like to their friends. But
Right.
unless you prompt them or remind them, they wouldn't even think to do half of that. They wouldn't even think to go online and do like a review. It's just not on top of mind for them. So, anything you can
Yeah.
do to help them, with the cause. So good for you.
Yeah, I also with reviews, I don't ask patients to do reviews at home. I ask them to do it while they're in the office. I go, look, if it would mean the world to me, like you said, I can tell people how great I am all day, but it really means more when it's coming from a patient. I just ask them, it would mean the world to me if you would just do a quick review while you're here in the office, just because otherwise your response rate goes down to 10% or less.
People are busy,
They are.
And where are you at with AI? Is it helping you, hurting you? Doesn't make any difference?
No, I mean, somebody said in a lecture one time there's going to be two types of practices in the next 10 years, right? Those that use AI and those that aren't in business anymore. And I think it's true. Um, I'm at I'm at a walk crawl stage right now. So I love it for I've actually I've given it free reign of my social media. So
Mhm.
now when people send me DMs or Instagram messages, it immediately sends them a message and engages with them. And that's because, as you know, in business, time to lead is the most important thing. How
Yep.
quickly you can respond to a lead and engage with them is the difference between gathering a whole nother 20% of leads versus losing them. Okay. So I let AI manage that because it's low risk. We weren't getting to them effectively anyways. So if I have a nice AI that can engage with them, sometimes they don't even know it's AI, right?
Mhm.
And it's telling them you can book an appointment here, answering some of their basic questions. Um, I haven't gotten brave enough to let AI take over the phones yet.
Yeah. I think we still need a human touch on those phones for the right. I would triage, but somebody
Yeah,
who really wants to book a consult with you because they've been watching you on Instagram for the past year, I need
yeah.
them to talk to a human being immediately.
I agree. I agree. I think there's going to be room for it on off. So I'm debating between two things. Do I want a virtual assistant in another country to answer my phones 24/7, or do I want to let AI answer the phones when I don't have somebody in house? And that's a question that I'm going back and forth on. I'm not sure what the right answer is yet. Um, I do think maybe a well-trained virtual assistant in another country, the Philippines, wherever, might not be a bad idea. But I think that there's a big role for AI in that aspect.
Hmm. Yeah, I would just use it sparingly during the day when people are trying to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because so many practices don't put any emphasis on that. And if you think about it, somebody who stopped and picked up the phone and called you is a hot lead.
Yep.
They could have filled out your web form every day. They could have DM'd you on Instagram or just hearted you on Instagram. But these people literally pick up the phone and the last thing they need to hear is, okay, well, we'll give you a call back. She's busy right now. And I think, oh my goodness. And now you chase them and they just keep calling, they're going to call people till they get the answer they want. So I would just be careful with the phones. But the caveat is triage the good ones, automate the suspects, but really prioritize the ones who are actually ready.
Right. And after hours, that's the big question, right? How do you manage the after hours calls? So I think that's where the question comes in.
That I
And
would outsource.
AI for your CRM. CRMs are amazing. I didn't use one for a long time. If you're not using a CRM, I mean, you've got to change that like today. And I didn't realize how important that was until I implemented one. And AI is a big part of that as well.
Oh my gosh, they've gotten to be so user friendly, and they don't have to cost a fortune. And we're not going to talk about, vendors, but if anyone has an issue with the CRMs, you have to have one. And there's a real easy way to implement one for a very good cost. And it's not a cost, it's an investment in all of those leads. I was in sales forever when I was younger, and I always use that. Otherwise, I had Excel sheets and post-it notes. And I thought, how would anyone ever take, like if you're in sales and the coordinator is, how would you ever keep track of all this? Did I follow up with that person? Did I remember to call them back? Oh my gosh. So it's well worth it. Last question. Tell us something interesting we don't know about you.
Oh man. Well, my whole life is on social media, so you guys probably know everything. No, I'm kidding. I like hobbies. So I like that work-life balance. I like enjoying myself. So for me, I love to collect vintage guitars. So I have a big collection of guitars. I like to play guitar. I don't just like to look at them. I also like vintage watches, beautiful watches. Those are kind of my things. And what it comes down to is an appreciation for craftsmanship. A guitar that was made in the 60s was made by hand. Somebody used a special technique in using something called hide glue that dries so quickly that you have to be precise with it. You have to shape the wood. So I love that. Same thing with watches that are handmade, all those beautiful things. I also love Disney because of their attention to detail, the customer service. So, Disney is like a fidget toy for me, because it stimulates that part of my brain that actually seeing craftsmanship and attention to detail calms me. So those are the things that I love.
Nice. If anyone wanted to get a hold of you, your website is theplasticsdoc.com.
Yep.
And your Instagram is the same, theplasticsdoc.com.
Yes, theplasticsdoc.com.
Yes. One little caveat. Do people know you as the Plastics Doc? Although it really stands out on social media, but then again, they don't get to know your name. So is it a hindrance, or where are you at?
Very good point. So my thought process for that is that I don't have, again, ego. Everything comes down to getting the ego aside. I don't have to have my name on everything. What I do have to have is a good brand. And by having a good brand, it gives me a lot of options. One, it gives me something that potentially I can market and sell at some point. Number two, it gives me a brand that other surgeons can use if I want to scale and expand. Number three, it's easy to remember, it's catchy, and it works very well on social media, on a website, and marketing. It just, it's the brand. It's Coke. It's Pepsi. It doesn't need to be who founded Coke? Who founded Pepsi? Who's the CEO right now? Do you know? No. Do you care? No. Four Seasons. Do you care? No. Right? We don't care about these things. Rolex. We don't care. What we care is that it's a good product, right? So that's why it's the Plastics Doc. And it hasn't been a hindrance. It's actually been a positive.
That's fantastic. All right, we're going to wrap it up with that. Thank you so much. I will be watching your career. And everybody, if you want to reach out to me with any questions or any feedback, please do. My website is catherinemaley.com. You can check out my new book. And then if you want to talk to me on Instagram, my handle is Catherine Maley MBA. And with that, we will say goodbye and we'll talk again soon. Hello, it's Catherine. If your practice feels busy but you're not seeing the growth you expected, there's usually a reason, and it's often something small that's quietly costing you revenue. That's why I offer a practice growth review. Now in this call, I'll take an objective look at your patient flow, conversion process, and retention strategies to identify where opportunities may be slipping through the cracks. You'll walk away with a clear picture of what's working, what's not, and the few changes that could make the biggest difference. If you'd like an unbiased set of expert eyes on your practice, simply visit catherinemaley.com to schedule your review.